Malcolm, always learning, always growing, his brilliant mind transforming as he journeyed inch by inch and mile by mile from his beloved Harlem to Mecca and Africa, exchanging the bitterness he rightly earned for a vision of universal brotherhood, black, white, yellow, red, and brown. Militant nationalist, socialist to the end, he who would demand, yes, demand, never beg or plead, and who promised to struggle on heroically against all odds until victory was won. His journey too short, cut down by assassins, too deaf to hear the fierce love for humanity in his fiery words. It's crying time, America. It's crying time. Malcolm's gone. It's crying time. It's crying time. Beautiful. And this next poem in this little trilogy is for the great Maya Angelou. So I'll just say something. She was an incredible activist. She was a dancer. She was an actress. She did every damn thing there was worth doing on this earth. And she did it with flair, and she was just brilliant. So when she died a couple years ago, I wrote this poem, and I sent it off to the newspaper, and much to my surprise, they never publish anything that's a poem in a newspaper, but they did publish this, so it made me very pleased, because she was a remarkable woman. The sad news reached us today. You who stood tall and proud, your roots dug deep in the rich soil of your people's spirituals and field hollers. Work songs and sorrow songs, blues and jazz, and the rhythmic beat of your ancestors' African drums have at last come to the end of your sojourn here. The earth shudders at your passing, and rivers of grief swallow up those of us left behind as our hearts break open with one last yearning for the sound of your rich, resonant voice. You who have been a beacon lighting the way, a steady compass pointing true north to justice and inclusion, peace and freedom. Your story inspired us. Your writings enriched us. Your passion deepened us. Your courage steeled our backbone. The power in your words could set feet to marching, while the tenderness could pry open even a heart crusted over with ignorance and hate. From wherever you are, we know you will be watching us. Urging us to keep on, for the race is far from over. And there are hearts to be won and minds to be opened. And a new and better world to be built on the ruins of the old. Yeah. This next poem is called The Question Not Asked. Now, I don't know about you, but I am really bugged by the exclamation point. I mean, it really just bugs me, and you know, so much is asked of the exclamation point. It's a hard-working grammatical error or something like that. So I call this poem The Question Not Asked. Pity the poor exclamation point. So much is demanded of it, that it stand up straight and proud, shoulders back, jaw forward at the end of a sentence that declares the glory or the perfection of this or of that, of which it is expected to boast, of Christ or capitalism, American exceptionalism, or even the ways of love. That's a damn heavy burden to carry day in and day out. But life doesn't allow for such simplicity. Life doesn't flow so readily into such neat and tidy packages. It has a way of wanting to breach its constraints, to be free and unfettered, allowed to question and doubt, and confront the complexities of this and of that. For there are grays between the black and the white, the shadow world of which we are not to inquire. And so at the end of the day, weary from the weight on its shoulders, the exclamation point at last bends over to courageously form the question we were never supposed to ask. Let's see. I'm going to sneak in another poem that's not on our, since we got a lot of time here.
Oh,
This poem is called The Sacred. Step boldly into your life. Each moment awaits your participation, invites your engagement. Give yourself generously, if not now, then when? Sing full-throated. Dance wildly. Let your poems express your deepest longings. Let your rage shake the mountains. Let your scream pierce the heavens. Let your weeping water the parched earth. Let your full-bellied laugh disturb the neighbors. Let your tenderness melt every boundary till all that remains is love. Let the simplest things amaze you. The extraordinary plays hide and seek in the everyday. Find the pearl in the mundane. Quench your thirst with that which barely calls attention to itself. This very moment is all there is. It awaits you in its entirety, invites you to surrender, to swim in the vastness of possibility. There can be no peace if you insist this moment is other than it is. Sometimes a sorrow, sometimes a great joy, sometimes a